none of you want to be put in handcuffs, we can take care of that afterwards. Welcome to the Canadian Telemark lecture. I very much appreciate everyone showing up on Friday. To remind you, we did our outdoor workshop on Monday. We gave you homework of a 14-page essay. Hope that you completed that and remembered everything we talked about. The question of who I am, Constable Dennis Lawrence, also known as the President of the Canadian Association of Nordic Ski Instructors. And I'm here to introduce this gathering as something that we picked up in Bulgaria. By running a panel discussion, we're hoping to include everybody here. We've invited the United States and Finland to join us. And without further ado, because I need to go across and do the same thing for the cross-country folks, I would like to introduce our moderator, René-Luc Morin. And before I do that, I should probably talk about the slides. Yes. Okay. So CANSI was established in 1976 to provide leadership in the development and communication of innovative teaching and technical standards. We've been heavily influenced over the years by the Canadian Ski Instructors Association, as well as the Canadian Ski Association and Ski Quebec. We have 4 levels of cross-country certification and 4 levels of telemark. Some of you have been lucky enough to receive honorary pins. Those are our level 1 pins. We hope that you treasure those as much as we treasure ours. If you do want to come and teach in Canada, it's going to cost you.
That's okay.
CANSI maintains several active professional associations with domestic and international snow sport organizations. As I've said, the CSIA, as well as the Canadian Association of Snowboard Instructors, and Nordic Canada, which is the new name for what we used to call Cross Country Canada. So we work quite closely with those 3 organizations. And these ongoing relations assist CANSI in the development of our teaching methodology, techniques, telemark, and cross country. Do I have another slide?
To introduce me.
Without further ado, René-Luc Morin.
Thanks, Dennis. Can you share your costume with me, please? Just a minute, just a note on my phone from the organizing committee. Oh, we have to postpone this presentation. Snowboard has to go first. No, it's a joke.
We'll stand outside in the cold an hour and we get the right
So
feeling.
we'll just start with our sponsor. You know, these company, these guys help us a lot on skiing, gloves, and you all know these brands, so we want to give it a hand. These are our true sponsors. It's the team that you have. Guy Paulson, just behind there. You met all those person this week. I'm the assistant coach. It's Martin, Jean-François, Larissa, and Nemo, but the one below, Denis, is not with us. He couldn't make it this year. We probably remember Denis while in Bulgaria he was there. But still, he was helping us on building this presentation and all the things that we share with you this week. So from coast to coast, I will be the moderator. On the panel, we have Larissa. They'll introduce himself when we're going to start. Jim from USA and Levi with 2E. That is going to be for the Finland side of, we want to create somewhere to compare. So Canada will present our methodology, our experience, our technique, and we compare with those 2 other countries. So we can get some information and, as I said, probably have some work for the summer, you know. We have to find something to do this summer, so we'll get the most of it as we can. So this Congress is all about the guest experience. But first, what is an experience? A lot of companies are putting a lot of money to create experience, to sell experience. Take by example, if you take the Air France, the flight company, they're not selling a guy waiting in a line for his ticket, waiting in security, waiting for the luggage. They're selling a glass of champagne for everyone, whatever class you're in. So this create kind of experience, a very good experience with the customer, will bring him back. And a small bad experience, they will never come back. So they invest a lot of money in getting information back of the experience. Is there any organization here who measure the experience of their user doing courses? I'm pretty sure not. We don't necessarily care about that side. We may have to, but we don't have any questionnaire or survey or to know if this participant, like we do this for the instructor for an internal side, but not on the public side. So we don't have anything to measure, but trust me, Amazon, Google, all these big companies, even a small one, you click on buy and pay and you get a survey. What about the experience? So we want to create this experience. So what is the experience? It's a lesson with an instructor, a participant, S, with the weather, with the condition, with the crowd. So how can we get the most out of it? For us and for the participant too. So the way we're going to work, we're going to present the Kensi vision of the guest experience. We broke that into 6 components. We're going to share that. And you already, for those of you who have been in the Monday session, probably most, all of you, we're going to share the same icons and spread that all over the presentation. And we're going to go to our teaching methodology. Does it fit with our vision? You have 2 choices of answer now, yes or yes. It fits. And also we're going to go through technique, and we're going to stop by every, I would say, 10-15 minutes to compare, unless if we go till the end. You're all going to fall asleep, and I'm going to be the only one to speak here. And the format, as you know, we're going to share that experience to try to probably get more than what we're giving. So it's our goal. So as I said, to understand how to achieve great guest experience, we deconstruct that into 6 components. These are the 6 from a participant perspective and from the methodology perspective. So what we believe, and you know, in 4 years from now, we may add 2 or 3 more, so remove 1, or this is what we create specifically for this Congress. So we believe that participants has to feel included, feel safe, and feel success, and we'll go behind during this presentation. And also on the methodology, so this is from the instructor side, the methodology has to be customizable, situational, and empowering. So as an instructor, we need to create an environment where we're going to use those 6 components to maximize the guest experience. So from now, I'll ask Larissa to jump in and do part of the presentation, then we come back to the panel. Is there any questions so far? We can go ahead.
I'll add one just please. Would you mind sharing your slides?
No, I don't mind. Yeah, it's going to be available. I should have pushed that to material under the Eventos application,
Okay.
but it's my fault. We had the last version 10 minutes ago. Probably it's going to be another version 10 minutes after. So, Larissa.
Okay. Hello, I'm Larissa Peaton. I'm from the west of Canada. I live in Golden, British Columbia. So I'm sharing with you our teaching methodology. And in this case, because we're in Levy and we talk about guest experience, we call it the student-centered approach. And here we call it the guest-centered approach. The guest-centered approach is basically embedded in our methodology. So the first thing, we all share that probably as countries for the teaching, is that connecting with our guests. And then we have learning environment that impacts also our how we teach. Technical assessment, we look at the skier, we have technical tools and references that we use to analyze what they do well, and develop skills or pick skills that we can help them with to become better skiers. And the technical development is then practice it and create tasks, we call them, drills to practice and get better, develop their skills. Okay, so connection. So we foster relationship with our guests. Basic information, name, experiences, and goals. In order to create a customizable lesson, we need some information from our guests, like age, ability, physical, psychological factors, equipment, learning styles. Those things will determine how we create or how we build our experience, our session. And throughout our connection and work with our guests, we always connect with them and make sure that they understand us, they're comfortable, and get feedback from them throughout the thing. And here on the left, you can see like one of our components that we're talking about, guest experience. So that would be the feel included, and feel safe to, and feel successful. But these are always part of each step. And yeah, here we basically repeat that here. Inclusive language, bring everybody in, be clear, talk loud and clear and be heard, and create a situation where they reflect on the course, what they're doing, and how they're progressing. The next is the learning environment, which will give us information on our customizable situational class or session. The learning environment, the main thing important is safety. So we'll have a safety plan, weather, terrain will impact all these things, and will impact the type of lesson we want to have. Group, private, and semi-private groups, like the amount of people we have, and how we can include each of them in a bigger group, a small group, this will differ. And yeah, the equipment that they're bringing also depends if we have people with different styles of equipment that will, yeah. So yeah, the learning environment, so we have a code of ethics, the planning of how we are teaching, the learning environment will affect that, and making sure that we're in constant contact with our guests, so we know how they feel, what they want to do. Like sometimes we have to adjust these things. Yeah, and that's that.
Okay, so that brings us to the first part of where we start to share and exchange with Jim and Levi. Maybe I can start with you, Jim. What do you take, or what do you have in your methodology that we already saw, or maybe there's something new about our component of the guest experience? Feel included, feel safe, and feel successful.
I had a feeling this was going to happen. What? Well, there's this, I think that what I've seen.
Can you all hear us in the background? Yeah. Okay.
What I've seen from a lot of countries and what I see from Canada is that it seems like there's a greater emphasis on these components as you talk about them. And in the U.S., we've recently gone. There's been a large change in our certification standards, and in Ushuaia, we introduced the learning connection model, which I've been to our presentations. You had a chance to see that, and there's kind of a blue ring with 3 triangles inside and a student at the center, sort of thing. And within that, there's people skills and teaching skills. And so some of this stuff that you have listed, it overlaps into those two different triangles. You know, the people skills are about how the instructor connects with the guest, right? And the teaching skills are about how the instructor relates the environment or the place that they are to help the guests learn to navigate that environment. But our piece about the safety is just one aspect, for instance, as you have your feel safe. That's one aspect of what we do as far as that goes. But there's other aspects as well, like collaborative aspects and engaging people in two-way conversations, and collaborative as far as like goal setting and what they'd like to be able to accomplish during experiences.
But do you evaluate people's skills?
Absolutely.
Okay, how?
We have line items, so if you saw me fiddle on my phone, I would have loved to pull up the assessment form and give you specifics on what
Just
those.
give an example.
So, for instance, I tried to pick up Greg's presentation that has some of that stuff listed. So, what level did you give me here, Greg? 3.
Level 6.
So for instance, communication, one of the things that they're going to be scored on says customize verbal and nonverbal communication to match or influence individuals. So at a level 3 event, during their presentation of their teaching, as they're coaching their peers and so on, it would be expected that they would address the individuals in the group. As opposed to addressing the group as a whole, they need to address the individuals. If we went back to our level 1 event, they could address the group as a whole and that would be satisfactory. At a level 2 event, they would address the group, you know, in subsets and as individuals. So that in each one of those standards, and that's one example. Now I'm on a phone that I don't know how to use. Oh, I got it.
Greg, if you want to jump in, just go ahead also.
He's doing a great job. If I can come up with my phone, then it'll be easier for me.
Yep, so our assessment forms have these aspects which are assessment criteria.
Can't open your phone again. It shut off me. So in other words, there's various things that we'll do, and I wanted to read another one of the assessment criteria.
Stay here in case you have trouble again.
I mean, like right now. Let's go.
Jim, I could throw one in.
Sure, give me one that
So,
goes in another piece of that.
it's from the
This is
US.
Stuart. Yeah.
In these groups, as they interact in an examination setting, are those people contributing to the overall success of the group, or are they detracting? Probably all have experiences of folks who maybe not helping the group succeed, but they are detracting from the group, whether they're having side conversations, they're not on time, they're just making disparaging comments. Those would be people skills that are not, we're looking for bringing the group and the whole up. That's a very basic, that's like an expectation from level 1 through 3. Just for showing up, can they help the group be successful?
Yeah.
Here's I just give you interaction. Manage the group dynamic to positively influence the experiences. That's one of the things kind of Stuart was just talking about. Support and manage the motivations and emotions of all.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll have in the people skills, there will be line items that they have to work with. You know, some of those things will not be overly apparent. You know, in other words, sometimes the fact that they didn't interfere with the process of the group is a positive. You know, and I'm sure you all know you get people, they get nervous in an exam situation or they get frustrated.
Never happened to me.
You know, and consequently they can interact with the group in negative manners.
Yeah.
Do you have actually tools in your to kind of, how do you deal with, you know?
Absolutely.
Because that's almost a psychology thing, you know, down to.
So
How to measure, in fact.
yes,
Yeah,
we actually do. So what we have is the overarching thing is called the learning outcome. Below a learning outcome, we have assessment criteria. So that's what I was reading to you as assessment criteria. Then we have a supporting document called the performance guide. In the performance guide, it gives examples of what it would look like if somebody was successful or not successful at a particular line item, one of the things I just read. right? So we have a whole supporting, and it's just examples of it. So
Yeah.
you're right, as I'm sure many of you would assume it's not so concrete that we can say,
No,
you
it's
did
not.
this and you check the box and it's done. All right, but we have examples of the kind of activities that people would be involved on that would cause them to, or involved in, that would cause them to be successful or unsuccessful.
Because most of the time, soft skill, pass or fail.
Okay.
You don't get 78% or 62%, it's very hard to measure, except if it's 0 or 1, you know? So,
We also have a model that we try to use for scoring those things. It's got SBI, it's called Situation Behavior Impact. So if we're gonna pass or fail somebody on one of those soft skill kind of things, ideally what we would like our examiners to be able to do is to say, this is the situation you were in, this is the behavior that you exhibited, that I saw or heard or listened to, and this is the impact that it created. So if it was a failing opportunity, I'd like to say, here's the impact, and this is what we believe it caused to happen to other people in the group. Or if it was successful, we noticed that a person was struggling with one of the activities that you did, and you slid up next to them and quietly gave them some feedback, all right? As opposed to publicly embarrassing them in front of everybody else. We noticed that. That's a very strong people skills piece, and their awareness of their ability to do that would be, that's the situation, the behavior, and the impact was this person was able to improve
Yep.
without feeling self-conscious. They
I will,
felt safe.
I will put that in feel included.
Absolutely.
Or avoid to feel excluded,
Mhm.
the counterpart of it. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, actually that's really interesting stuff because I attended both of the US workshops on people skills, and people skills have been always something that us Finnish were very proud that our instructors are good in teaching in people skills. And we've always in history thought that, okay, it's because we have teachers that are good in teaching skills. And it was an eye-opener to me to hear about the people skills and actually have a framework that works to assess that. Especially SBI was super interesting for me, and I like that. In Finland, we base a lot on this thing called a self-determination theory, which is from from the education side, from academia. And what it is that we like to incorporate and find to create motivation, we need to have someone has a
Me.
yeah. So exactly like what we have here. So the person needs to feel included, the person needs to feel successful, but what we also have is that the person has to feel autonomous. And that's something that we believe in strongly, and what we use as the base framework for our instructors, and actually what we use for the sort of the guest experience or the learner experience. We talk a lot about learner, and it was really nice to hear also from CSIA that they are talking about learners as well. I don't know, are you guys taking it in as well? That it's not about student anymore, but move it into a learner and talking about a specific person. And that's exactly like going into that people skills sections, that we're not like putting a person in a situation where they have a role, but we're talking about the person, and we're, conversing with that person and trying to make something happen from there. So that's how we start building it up, honestly, and especially, how should I put this? The teaching skills, like how it stems for us actually from the people skills. So it's been interesting to hear about like having those two things divided, because they're very separate things actually. And for us, they've always been very blended together. But yeah.
Okay, I'll ask the audience if you have questions about the first section to any of our panelists. Go ahead, and then we switch to the second section. Going once.
I kind of asked about it also at the American lecture, but how do you actually practically examine our new instructors do you have a group of volunteers, or do you use can you still use the instructors that you have in that group that instruct each other? That's kind of practical, you know, in the examination of the, and how much is written and how much is practical on the mountain, kind of.
So PSIA, AASI is made of 8 regions across our country. And it's very interesting because the regions themselves and their organizations are not, we're only connected voluntarily. Like we agree to do that. And so we come here, Keith, Greg, and I come here, and the rest of our team as a representative for our national organization, which is connected to the regional organizations, and it's somewhat by agreement and voluntary. So we have national standards that are put out by the recognizing body, which is the national organization, which causes certification to happen. The way that we go through the certification process is actually directed by the regions, and it's not consistent across the country. All of our standards are the same, and we're working right now towards creating a national consistent process, and we have sort of thrown a date out of there of 2026 to have the same events. I think Telemark, we have the best chance in Telemark, I would say, because we're the most cohesive group, but it's a very big thing. So the answer to your question is, some regions actually do teach to, I think they have exams, assessments that teach to real individuals, you know, people they just pick out of the, whatever they come and attend. Some regions do it to people in the group. We do it in different ways. You know, there's a lot of similarities, but there's nothing that says it has to be the same, because it's not one organizing, governing body that dictates everything that happens across our entire country. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic.
And it's the same in Canada. Alpine, snowboard, SCANSI governs the cross-country and Telemark. If you want to go on the other room, there's a cross-country presentation. It's about, I would say, 70% the same. It's the same methodology that we share. They have one more skill than we have, okay, but the rest is all the same. It's national evaluation, it's not regional, it's set for a Canada country, or, you know, it's not by region, so. Anything to say about that?
Yeah, especially like, for example, when we're talking about examination process or something. So for example, in Telemark case, it's a quite small discipline here in Finland. So in order to be a Telemark instructor, you have to be a ski instructor as well, because we can't include our pedagogics into the Telemark thing. We have our own module for it, the same as for cross-country skiing. But in order to get the full qualification to actually instruct it, you have to go all the way for the level 1. I heard that you have 4 levels on Telemark?
We are on our way.
Huh?
We are on our way.
Okay.
On our way. It's not, it's at the written stage now. We
Okay.
don't have the 4th level yet.
Yeah, exactly. And we're working on our level 2. And basically we have the program for it, but we still have to keep it as a module, so we keep the technical side into the Telemark on that. But if you want to rise on the level as an instructor, you have to keep processing as an alpine ski instructor at the same time. But of course, like for us, it's a small organization and we're all working together on progressing the system. So thankfully we don't have that problem of the originality and having a big organization that's widespread in that way.
If I can add quickly, we have made changes and there's agreement in our standards. The standards are all the same, but the way the standards are evaluated is still somewhat different from region to region. And our goal is to have that become consistent.
National, yeah.
Yes, but we're not there yet. And that's true with all, and even our standards for teaching and people skills are exactly the same, word for word on the assessment form for Telemark as it is for Alpine, as it is for cross-country, as it is for snowboard. I mean, they're slightly different for our children's specialist, just because it's a little different, but it's exactly the same across discipline right now. So we're making huge strides in that direction.
About feel successful, I had a conversation in Gondola with some colleague here about, as an instructor, we're part of participant feel successful, but I feel successful when participant feels successful too. So I get the value of being an instructor when I make the experience and I succeed. The participant is happy. This is where I get the value of being an instructor. So it's not only from a participant point of view, it's also for the overall experience. It's the lesson, it's the instructor, the participant, the weather and everything that has an impact on the experience itself. So we're going to switch to, if you don't mind, to the second part of the presentation.
Yeah,
We have a technical assessment.
technical assessment, yeah. Do you wanna? So, technical assessment is we watch the skier ski. And then what's really important is to point out the good things, the positive things, and build from what they're good at already and build from there. And then as we see them ski, like all our ski instructors do that, we define some skills that they might have to develop to improve their overall skiing. And then that's also part of the situational and customizable lesson. So the technical assessment is how they ski, but also their physical and emotional capabilities, equipment and environment. Again, we decide on those topics, on those things, how we're gonna approach the lesson. And how to, at our best, create the situation, the task, to give them the most chances to be successful. So that's the empowering part. So this is our technical development, how we do it. So we see how they ski, we decide on what skills they have to develop or they should develop. So we create a goal. That goal, we create, with this goal, we create a task to reach that goal. We demonstrate it, tell them what we want them to do. Then we let them practice. We get together and discuss it, how they feel with direct questions. Did it feel like this? Did you understand that feeling, or how was it just how was your practice? What you know what I mean? And then we vary the task. So once they and work on that specific skill, and if that skill is achieved, then we work on different skills to develop that. And here, so the goal, define a task,